Hi, I just had to let you know I had to change venues because my friend that I live with came home. And so, anyway, so I'm in a different room now. Anyways, and I was going to end the video. However, I just wanted to include a couple more things that I think are really important for you to know. One is when you meet someone and they all of a sudden have so many things in common with you, be very discerning, because that's one of the tricks that people use, is in order to engender endearment with you. They have the same, there are a lot of commonalities. So for instance, when people I meet and they tell me, oh, I have a black cat, and I think, oh, well, I have a black cat and I love my cat. And so, oh, my favorite color is this, or oh, my favorite show is that, or my favorite author is that, or I love traveling here or there, or whatever. Anyway, the commonalities are a way of getting an insider for you to trust, actually. I know it's so weird that people have to, stoop to such ridiculousness, but since they do, we have to just kind of be prepared anyway. Well, they really want me to shut up because I have to tell you, there were 2 notifications on my phone during this bringing my computer to this other room, and it showed that there were lane closures due to big accidents on US 19, which is a very well-traveled, a very busy highway here in Florida, in Pinellas County and Pasco County. And so anyway, it shows, just like, oh my gosh, lots of car accidents, lots of fatalities. We just get those on the phone quite a bit. And just like when I saw those cars go up in flames, and that was to warn me to stop talking. And then that was also to warn me that that was going to happen to my car. And so anyway, I just want you to know that be aware when you get things like that. I mean, I hope your family isn't as sick as mine, but just in any case, we need to pay attention. It's all about awareness. When I said that all of my things were thrown out on in the parking lot of a luxury condo building on Gulf Boulevard on Sand Key in Clearwater Beach, that was really just to humiliate me, because it was such a well-traveled Gulf Boulevard. And so people would drive by and they would see pictures of me, and I wasn't allowed to take them, or cars from the parking lot. They were belonging to my neighbors. And so they would just see this big mound of trash on the floor. And yet there were some things that were absolutely priceless to me. But I knew that if I even, said, hey, that's mine, or if I even went down there to take a better look, I could only see it from my kitchen window. But if I went down there to take a better look, they would be saying, oh, she's harassing us or something. Just like when my mother was in the Alzheimer's facility, and my elbow shook my computer with my phone that's kind of stuck on it. Yes, the workers there, when I would go see my mother, they'd say, oh my God, you wouldn't believe what she's up to now. And so they would motion me to go into one of the closets. And so they could tell me, and they'd say, if you even stay 1 minute past 8 o'clock or whatever, she told us to call the police on you. Or if you gave a drop of water to your mother, or if you asked any questions about your mother's treatment here, or anything about that, just know that she's just looking for that excuse to either Baker Act you or arrest you for disorderly conduct or something like that. And so anyway, as much as we don't want to even believe that our families would stoop so low, when they are so invested in the crimes that they're committing, and the cover-up, which is even worse than the crime, it behooves us to just know that and to just stay away, just to take care of ourselves. Because if we don't take care of ourselves, how can we help anyone else? And if that's why we're here, which is to help others, we really need to be mindful of exactly what type of energy we're sending out to people as well. But also that that we really do need to be very diligent about how we approach things, and just let the crazies stay crazy and let them do their crazy things, and do not engage. It's almost like, okay, go ahead, be crazy, and just leave me alone. I'm not playing in this. What do they say? Um, yeah, what did they say about, oh, this is a circus and it's not my circus, or something like that? Anyway, it was with the yellow tape surrounding my things that were in the parking lot. And I said, I thought about this, and I thought, well, it really looks like a murder scene. It's where they would put, no trespassing or caution or something. And I thought, you know what? It really was a murder scene, because in fact, my mother and my father and others were murdered, all for the money, all for it. Just all boiled down. The common denominator was that these people needed to be out of the way, so that just certain family members would be able to benefit and steal the money. And so, they say money is the root of all evil. And I do believe that. I also believe that lack of money is the root of all evil as well, because people that don't have it become very desperate, and they will do anything sometimes for it. And so you see that it's all about balance. And we're not here to judge anybody. And money is just an energy. But when you have it, supposedly you feel very powerful because you're in control. And when you don't have it, you kind of shrivel up and you think, oh, poor me, I'm just so broke. And yet, nothing really has changed in your exterior world, in your outer world. It's just a matter of how is it that you feel about yourself. Do you feel abundant, or are you lacking the abundance that you need in order for you to come out of your shell, in order for you to be self-confident, in order for you to have that self-esteem? Is that so dependent on your financial situation that you can't rise above that? Whatever side of the pendulum you're on, whether you are abundant or you are in lack. And what is the lack, really? Lack is just a mindset, because we all have everything we need, truly. And again, I know, I wanted to talk to you about right and wrong, because people will say, well, that was really wrong, or she did that right, or whatever. It's very subjective, because there is no wrong, because there are consequences to everything. And so if you do something that is against your conscience, then you would think it would be wrong. But in fact, you'll have the consequences for that. You will endure them. And then either you will awaken and realize that that's just not really how I want to live, or you will say, well, I did it. I should have known better, but I didn't. And so now I'm suffering the consequences. And so it's a perfect balance. It's an exchange of energy. Some people are very sadistic. And certainly I know once I lived in this home, the next door neighbor would put Reese's peanut butter cups on the grass in the yard here, which is totally, you know what, I've been shaking this phone, sorry. But I actually had an allergic reaction to a Reese's peanut butter cup. While I was married, my ex-husband had tampered a peanut butter cup. And in fact, I became so dizzy and had vertigo and was ambulanced to the emergency room, where they told me I went into anaphylaxis from a tainted peanut butter cup, Reese's peanut butter cup. And so, I stay away from peanut butter. And although I used to love it, now I just do almond butter. But so they're all over this yard, and they're really put there so that the cats will eat them and get sick as well. And so I thought, gosh, why would somebody be so cruel? Why would somebody be so mean? And then I thought, I can't think about that, because people are just the way they are, and we can't change them. And only their awakening, only their realization of their dysfunction can propel them to change some of their ways. And some will, take their last breath believing that what they have done in this lifetime is totally appropriate. And others will awaken and others have some remorse. And so, and it's really not up to us. It's their path, right? So what else can I tell you? I was going to, mention to you. Now, as I mentioned to you about Body Heat being a really interesting movie where I saw my family taking on those roles, there is another character that actually someone else told me about. And so I know that he knew better than I did. And he said, your family is acting like Mata Hari. And I had heard of that name, but I didn't really know much about her. Well, I looked her up, and she was a Dutch spy for Germany. And what she would do is she would seduce men, and then they would tell her the secrets. Actually have these men under her control, because what she might say is that when she would tell someone, you must do this, you must do that, or tell me about this, and they'd say, no, I can't. And she'd say, well, I know your wife, or I know exactly where your wife goes. And if you don't tell me, she's going to find out where you were this afternoon, or something bizarre like that. I'm just making that up. But it was something like that. And so the men actually become her pets. They have to obey. They have to do what she says, or she's going to out them. And so I thought, wow, that's even going on around here. And then I thought, yeah, that's a really good way of getting to people, right? And blackmailing them. And first it's a bribe, and then it's a blackmail. And so I thought, gosh, you never know just how far people will take it. And in terms of that, I have to tell you that I was moving from Arizona to Oregon, where I wanted to study with a spiritual teacher. And I didn't know how I was going to get my luggage to Oregon. And I was on a really low budget, right? And so someone said to me, well, you can just stick them on a bus, and they will take like 5 suitcases at a time, and it's relatively inexpensive. So I thought about that. And then they said, well, the catch is you have to ride on that bus too. So I thought, okay. So I got on the bus in Phoenix, Arizona, and the first stop was in Blythe, California. And so it was like a potty break, and so a little girl's break. And so I got off the bus, and I was actually basking in the sun because it was a beautiful day. So I was standing near the side of the bus, and I was just kind of having my face the sun. And all of a sudden they said, well, now, stand in line to board. And so I did. And right before I was to board, the bus driver kind of cut in right in front of me. And as he cut in front of me, he stepped on the steps and climbed the steps. And then I was about to follow him. And as I was just about to put my one foot on the step, all of a sudden, the door slammed on my face and just hit this side of my face, and then threw me, and I ended up hitting the side of the bus with this side of my face and head and my entire body. And then at which time I then collapsed and lost consciousness. And the next thing I remember is that they were screaming, ambulance, ambulance, and the bus driver and some other guy, and they were not supposed to do this, but they were actually like lifting me up or pulling me up or something. And God forbid if I had had a neck injury or something like that, and they would have messed with the vertebrae. Anyway, that was a horrific experience. And I then decided that I needed to get to Medford, Oregon, because I didn't know anybody in Blythe, and I didn't want to end up in the emergency room. I didn't know what if they'd say, oh my gosh, she's really sick, she needs brain surgery or something. And I thought I was not comfortable doing that. So I said, just get me to Oregon, where someone was waiting for me. A girl I had met at a retreat had invited me to come up there. And so I got on the bus, and after about 5 or 6 hours, I was in so much pain. The pain was excruciating. And so I then said, I do need an ambulance. So I ended up going to San Francisco General, I think it was. No, Sacramento. Anyway, so I ended up going there, and they diagnosed me with a mild traumatic brain injury. And there was nothing mild about a traumatic brain injury. And so I then said, I'm going to just go on my way to Oregon. I just wanted to make sure that there wasn't a bleed. And so we ended up going to Oregon because this was the beginning of COVID, actually. I couldn't even find neurologists or other physicians, and there were like 3 months. It was a 3-month wait to even get in to see anyone. What I understood was that that door just didn't shut by itself. And in fact, once we arrived in Medford, Oregon, I saw another bus driver who was walking by, and I said, can you please help me? I have 5 suitcases under this bus, and I was just diagnosed with a brain injury. Can you just help me so that I can put them in the corner here so that my friend that's coming to pick me up, we can then load her car? And so he said, oh, you're the one with the brain injury. And I said, yeah. And he said, you're the one where the bus driver closed the door. And I said, the bus driver closed the door? And he said, well, how do you think it closed? And so he said, there's a button that as soon as the bus driver gets on the bus, he can push that button and close the door behind him. Well, you were right behind him, right? And I thought, oh my gosh. And he said, don't let this go. You follow up with this. And it was so weird because then I waited for my friend, and I started to think, I thought, now who would have a bus? How would that bus driver close the door? And then I started thinking, and as I was relating the story to some other people, they said, well, look, she's been trying to kill you for so long. What do you think about a brain injury? Maybe you were supposed to end up being a vegetable. And then she'd go to court saying, oh, you know what? She's just not competent to take care of this huge fortune that she's entitled to. And so we'll just take care of it for her, and we'll just make sure that she gets proper care in whatever facility we put her in and stuff. And I thought, oh, that is like the most horrific thing I had ever imagined. But I do remember that my father was very much an intellectual, and so was my mother, actually more so than my father. And my mother and my father used to say, the one thing that no one can take from you, they might be able to take some of your money, they might be able to take this or that, and especially after the ex wanted to try to take my children from me, they'd say, no matter what people can take from you, the only thing that they cannot take from you is what's between your ears. And that is your intelligence, your mind, your education, and things like that, because it's all part of you now. Every experience you have becomes part of you. And my parents thought, oh gosh, she's such a smart girl that we want to make sure that she understands that no one will ever take that from you, even as so many people have tried to take so many things from me. And so I thought, wow, that's what they're trying to do, is now take what's between my ears, or what's in my mind, and the knowledge that I have and the education that I have. And so I thought, wow, isn't that really, really crazy that people would go to that extent? And so anyway, I wanted to tell you about that. And let's see, what else can I tell you? Yeah, I told you about Mata Hari, and I told you about people having similar interests to you. So if all of a sudden, if you collect stamps, or if you collect silver, or you, collect, or your favorite artist, your favorite painter, and you want to go to the museum to see the art gallery or the art museum, and you want to see some of his work, and all of a sudden somebody says, you know what, I'm going to go to the art gallery, or I'm so excited, I want to go see those Renoir or whatever. And so you think, oh wow, that's my favorite too. When there are too many commonalities, just know that they've already done their research on you before, and so they know exactly what to say in order to draw you in. So be careful. the other thing I was going to say is currently where I am, it like other places where I have been, it is, I guess so many people are on the payroll that they make it very dangerous, actually. And so I know as I'm standing right here, I know that other people in the neighborhood are watching me, and I know that there are a lot of, it's a really not a safe environment here. And so I think there's a lot of drugs going on around here, and I did actually mention that to the sheriff when at one point I went there and I was trying to have that injunction for harassment, and I wanted to let them know that what I've noticed here is really, it's a high crime area. And so they said, well, we're doing our best. Well, I don't know how you're doing your best, but if it's still going on. So anyway, that is something that sometimes look around, be mindful. I know they have that neighborhood watch. I've never really participated in that or known what that was really all about, other than I don't know who you call if there's like one neighbor that's in charge of it all, or you go directly to the authorities. But yeah, and even if it starts off and it's okay, and all of a sudden then it starts to change, just know it can be people that want to frighten you and people that want to involve you in some high crime area. And then they can say, oh, well, of course, she was living there, so what did you expect? That was not a safe area for her. So then they try to blame you. It's almost like gaslighting. Then, it's all of a sudden your fault because you're there. And yet that wasn't like that before. But what they did is they imported people that made it unsafe. So anyway, I thought that was very interesting because we don't think that way. At least I don't. But criminals are usually 10 steps ahead of us. And they try to set the stage so that everything looks like it's just so innocent. So be careful. And this is not to frighten anyone. This is to empower us. And so the more we know, the more we can observe and witness and take care of ourselves. And so that's the goal. The goal is just to stand tall, stand firm in the knowing of who you are, and the knowing that you have so many gifts, that in fact there are so many dark energies that are just trying to attack you for those gifts because you intimidate them. Believe me, if you didn't intimidate them, they wouldn't give you the time of day. But because you are such an angel of light, and because you see what's going on, and because you have this wisdom and this understanding of who you are and who you are in the world around you, that you are able to shine so brightly that in fact, it threatens other people who are kind of in a low vibration, and they just are like, kind of like, yuck. I don't know how else to describe it. But I wanted to warn you about one more thing. I used to have Dodge Durangos, and years ago I had them because I had 3 little boys playing hockey with all of their hockey gear, and then they were playing football, and then so we'd have sticks and we'd have all kinds of sports equipment in the car, and so I used to drive that. And when I had moved to Clearwater, I still had a Dodge Durango, and someone that I knew was saying, oh, you shouldn't be driving a Dodge Durango. You should be driving, a very upscale car. Well, listen, I have had some of the nicest cars around, but it was practical for me to have that, and that's the only reason why I had it. And so anyway, and he kept saying, I think you need a different car. And I said, you know what, this is fine. It's leased. I have it for another year or whatever, and I'm going to keep it, and then I can change. All of a sudden, the car was having all of these mechanical difficulties. And what I realized is that he was sabotaging the car. So then he could say, oh, you know what, for your birthday, I want to get you a car. So I'm like, I don't need another car. As it turned out, I did get a car. But you see, the reason I'm warning you is because apparently this is a trick. And he had actually told me he had pulled this trick on an ex-wife. But for some reason, it didn't compute. Well, what happened was, after I wanted nothing more to do with him, he then sued me for the car. He sued me for the car in a courtroom where his attorneys were very close to the judge. In fact, they were, I guess they had kind of all worked together. Anyway, what he did is, so he bought the car. He ruined my car. He bought another car. He gave it to me. And the title was in my name. And then he sued me for it in a tainted courtroom. And then he took my car. So that I realized, and actually some other people had said, that in fact, that is a well-known scam. So I thought, I'm going to pass that along to you, because what they try to do is disable you, so that then in the end, you don't have any car, right? Not even the car that he had tampered, because he gave that one away. And so you're stuck with nothing. So I thought, oh, I would have never thought of that, really. And so it's something to be wary of. Okay? So I guess I'm going to end this for now, and I'll talk to you again soon. Thank you. I love you. Bye-bye.